Chapter 61. He Yue couldn't care less about the tea head sprayed onto the snack dish, pointed to where Li Hao had disappeared, his eyes nearly bulging out as he stuttered, attempting to speak. The person is gone. Du Chue also stood up alarm, wide-eyed in shock. Where did he go? Beside her, Ren Qianqian froze, her gaze rapidly sweeping in all directions, extremely meticulously. Yet she saw no trace of Li Hao, not even a footprint in the blink of an eye, right under their eyelids. He had just vanished obviously, unless it was some kind of obscuring technique she had never heard of before. It was Li Hao's movement technique speed that was too fast, beyond her visual capture. If he used such speed to attack her, her pupils slightly contracted, the fingers gripping her sword hilt tightening considerably. This Yue turned his head to look at Li Yuanzhao, waving his hands and feet with great unease. Yuanzhao, your brother Hao, what cultivation level is he? Du Chue managed to recover a bit, unable to help looking at Li Yuanzhao and asking. Li Yuanzhao was just as dumbfounded in his day-to-day interactions with brother Hao. Had never seen him show such a move. What cultivation level? Wasn't brother Hao following the path of body refinement? Mother said that the limit of body refinement was low, that reaching Zhou realm was the max, and that getting to soul succession realm was difficult. Could it be brother Hao succeeded in soul succession? Li Yuanzu's heart trembled. He wasn't completely ignorant. Stepping into soul succession realm meant that brother Hao could attract the energy of heaven and earth, indicating that his meridians were open. Brother Hao could cultivate. Thinking of this possibility, Li Yuanzu's hands, resting on the table, trembled slightly with excitement. Meanwhile, at another location, 15 li away, the Black Jiao, shocked beyond measure, couldn't help doubting if she had seen incorrectly. While in her state of shock and suspicion, she saw Li Hao step out from the little tea shop, immediately streaking towards her like a bolt of golden lightning so fast. And he was moving with his body controlled. The complexion of the Black Jiao beauty changed drastically, filled with unspeakable horror. This was the symbol of the 15 li realm. This son of the criminal military marquis was at the 15 li realm. How old was he? Her brain experienced a momentary blankness. What she thought was a straightforward decapitation from 15 li away turned into an unbelievably bizarre situation. A powerful sense of impending death shrouded her in an instant, and the Black Jiao beauty immediately came to her senses. Without another thought, she turned to flee, wanting to reunite with her husband. First, a flash of dark light, and she soared into the air, aiming for the distance. But before she could get a few hundred meters away from the treetops, a golden light suddenly descended from the sky. A fair and slender palm extended from the light, pressing down on top of the Black Jiao bowtie's head, and then pushed her straight down into the ground dozens of meters below. With a thud, the ground cratered massively on the ground. The head of the Black Jiao beauty was pressed into the pit by Li Hao's palm, her expression disheveled. The Black Jiao beauty was petrified with terror, feeling as if that palm on her head was made of steel, like 1,000 mountains pressing down on her, rendering her unable to move. How could this possibly be the strength of the 15 li realm? She let out a piercing roar, like the bellow of a bull, like thunder, her body emanating black demon aura, and she reverted to her true form. A massive and fierce dragon head broke through the fog, turning to bite. But in the next moment, a boot with intricately embroidered patterns stepped ruthlessly on the dragon's head from within the demon fog. With a thud, this massive dragon head was pressed into the ground. The thick dragon tail swept from behind. Li Hao didn't even look back, casually, swinging his fist behind him. Accompanied by a deep thud, a force of more than 1,000,000 pounds hit the dragon tail, instantly causing the scales to dent and fall off, and the tail to violently rebound onto the ground. Painful screams like bestial roars rose from beneath his feet, but it seemed the mouth couldn't fully open, making the sound extremely muffled. A gentle breeze rolled through, dispersing the surrounding demon fog, with Li Hao standing with one foot on the indented head of the dragon, his other hand propped on his knee, closely examining the demon beneath his feet. Ambush me? You're not simply out to kill. Who sent you? Li Hao narrowed his eyes, asking in a soft voice. There was no anger in his voice, but the mother Black Jiao felt a chill run through her. Who exactly are you? She managed to ask, her mouth barely opening, filled with fear. In just a single encounter, she had been completely suppressed. Was the other party in the heavenly human realm? At this moment, she suspected that the assassination attempt must already have been known to the divine general mansion. This was a decoy, a counterplot, with so many people at the tea stall. Why did you target me right away? Don't you know who I am? Li Hao let out a slight cold laugh, believing that aside from his appearance, there should be nothing else about him that stood out more than anyone else. If it was targeted at the divine general mansion, they certainly came prepared. Are you really the son of Marquis Xingwu? How is that possible? Age cannot be faked. Marquis Xingwu's son is only how old this year? 14 at most, and you are in the 15-li realm. The Black Jiao mother said with surprise and suspicion. Her voice even tinged with a mix of anger and grievance as she spoke. 14 years old. In the 15-li realm? Even for a top-notch demon of the 9th grade war physique, reaching the divine travel realm at this age would already be terrifying. You know my father? Li Hao raised his eyebrows and suddenly thought of the assassination attempt he encountered at the age of 7. His eyes narrowing. You couldn't possibly be sent by the demons from Northern Yen. Could you? He could have counterkilled this demon back at the tea stand, but the reason he personally gave chase was to understand the motive behind it. Are you really his son? Upon hearing Li Hao's words, the Black Jiao mother was so shocked that she widened her eyes, looking up with all her might, wanting to take another look at the young man's face. Li Hao exerted a slight force under his feet and said coldly, "Let's hear it. What's the situation on Northern Yan's side? Why has it been stalemated for so many years? Are your demon kin unaware of the strength of the great Yu dynasty? Even without the Li family, if you truly manage to tear open a gap, other divine general mansions would send reinforcements, and there is also the Dayu army, led by the Dayu royal family, ready to dispatch at any moment. Are your demons that starved? Don't talk as if your human race is all united. Conquering Northern Yen is just the first step." The Black Jiao mother sneered, but then realized she had misspoken and immediately turned to anger, saying, "With such talent, you could have entered a famous mountain for training and become renowned under the heavens. Why hide your strength and pretend to be worthless?" The first step? Li Hao frowned. It seemed that the demon force attacking Northern Yen was incredibly large, wanting to swallow the entire Dayu? How could that be possible? How many demons would need to band together to achieve that? He looked at the Black Jiao mother under his feet and said, "Hide my strength? I simply had no opportunity to show it usually. When I fished for Jiao at 12, you didn't see it. Could you blame me? If you cooperate and act sensibly, I might consider sparing your life." Fished for Jiao at 12? The Black Jiao mother was taken aback, an icy chill suddenly filling her heart, so astonished that she could not speak. "Have you decided? Cultivation is not easy. Don't give up so readily," Li Hao said, regaining her senses. The Black Jiao mother was filled with fear. At that moment, she had only one thought. She must survive and bring out this terrifying intelligence. If Monarch Bai found out about this child's talent, even without the matter of the Northern Yen battlefield, he would spare no expense to have him killed, as he would become a major threat in the future. Initially thinking it was overkill to send her and her husband, not wanting to give the other side any chance, turned out to be a vast underestimation. It wasn't an underestimation of the protection of the divine general mansion, but an underestimation of the prey itself. Seeing that the Black Jiao did not respond, Li Hao muttered to himself, "Well then, do you wish to die? It's been a long time since I had Jiao meat, and today I shall make use of your Jiao liver. I wonder if it's fattened and delicious." The pupils of the Black Jiao mother constricted, as if a demon was whispering above her head. It was only demons eating humans. This young man actually wanted to eat a demon, and not for its inner core, but for the taste of its liver? "Husband, save me." Just as Li Hao was about to make his move, the Black Jiao mother desperately shouted, "HM?" Li Hao paused. Another one? His heart grew wary, and his divine soul flew out from the top of his head, scanning the surroundings soon. He spotted a fierce battle erupting on a hill 30 li away. A massive and brawny Black Jiao was fighting against two people. Li Hao had noticed the two people fighting the Black Jiao a long time ago as they followed him on the road. One of them was Fu, but he didn't recognize the other one, who wasn't from the divine general mansion. He guessed it must be someone sent by Ren Chanqian. At the moment their battle was terribly dangerous. Fu was already injured and could only assist from the side. "I'll borrow your scale." A killing intent flashed in Li Hao's eyes as he bent down to pluck a scale from the top of the Black Jiao mother's head. suddenly flinging it and transforming it into a streak of black light that instantly vanished into the sky. The black Jiao mother watched in shock and then panicked with terror. What are you doing? 30 li away. The two engaged in battle were being pushed back. Li Fu's face was pale, as he did not expect to encounter a great demon of the 15 li realm here, with only the divine travel realm cultivation level. It was hard for him to escape, but luckily, someone of the 15 li realm was helping him. However, the situation looked very grim. The distress signal he had sent out earlier had been consumed by the great demon, leaving them looking for another way out. Die! The black Jiao roared ferociously, ready to swoop down and tear apart the burly man it had smacked down the hilltop when suddenly, a sound of piercing through the air approached him. The black Jiao turned with a start, its pupils catching sight of a black scale that rapidly grew larger with a pop. It pierced the eyeball with a terrifying speed that was impossible to avoid, then stirred rapidly within the skull, destroying all brain tissue. The black Jiao violently spat out blood. Disbelief apparent in its other eye, it recognized the black light as its sister scale. But how? With a rumble, the black Jiao crashed to the ground, its life force quickly fading. A single scale had slain a Jiao 30 li away. Chapter 62. What? Li Fu, who was just about to step forward to help, was dumbfounded upon seeing the black Jiao suddenly plummeting down. Immediately afterward, he hurriedly looked around. He noticed that fleeting black light and realized there had been outside assistance. He utilized divine traveling to patrol the surroundings. With peerless divine refinement skill, one could divine travel for 18 miles. Although Li Fu was not directly descended from the Li family, he had once made remarkable military achievements. Combined with the assistance from Li Tiangang, he had managed to obtain a peerless divine refinement skill from the Li family, which also made him a formidable figure within the divine travel realm. Now, under his surveillance, everything within 18 miles was completely visible to him, yet he saw no sign of anyone at this moment. The sturdy man also reacted, his complexion changing dramatically. He immediately searched for the strong presence that had assisted him, but finding none, he realized that the person had concealed themselves and did not wish to reveal their identity. He bowed deeply and cupped his hands in gratitude. I thank the senior for your assistance. I hope the senior leaves a name, so Wei Feng can repay this life-saving grace in the future. The voice traveled 15 miles. After a long time, there was still no response. Wei Feng could not help but wryly smile, thinking that the senior who could kill the Jiao dragon with one strike probably wouldn't care about his gratitude. He couldn't help feeling a bit regretful in his heart. He turned his head to look at Li Fu and asked, "Is that senior perhaps one of your divine general mansion?" Li Fu was stunned. He was still wondering if it had been the handwork of that grandmaster behind the other man. Divine general mansion apart from himself, there shouldn't be anyone else, right? However, could it be someone sent from the 4 academies? With doubts in his heart, he could only say, "I'm not sure, but since the senior has taken action, Divine General Mansion will remember this kindness." Towards the end of his words, he also bowed respectfully to the heavens and earth around him. My husband's aura 30 miles away. The female black Jiao suddenly narrowed her pupils, sensing the robust and overwhelming aura of her mate fading away in the distance until it finally disappeared completely. She hurriedly looked toward Li Hao but saw him looking composed, as if he had casually tossed a pebble. At this moment, he was tidily adjusting his clothes while looking at her. "What have you done to my husband?" The female black Jiao asked with a trembling voice. "What do you think?" Li Hao said with a faint smile, "I'm afraid your husband won't make it here. You can give up now. If you're willing to talk, I might consider sparing your life." The female black Jiao shook all over. She could only sense her husband's aura disappearing but didn't know what had actually happened, as the distance was too far beyond the range of her divine soul's perception. Yet, Li Hao's demeanor left her feeling extremely uneasy inside. "All right. Whatever you want to know, I'll tell you." The female black Jiao hesitated for a moment before her tone shifted, becoming coquettish. She displayed weakness and helplessness. Li Hao raised an eyebrow, immediately recalling in stories how demon creatures beguiled and deceived people. These demon races were not only violent but, when weak, could also charm and confuse the minds of others. "Don't play tricks on me. Tell me about the demon race's situation in northern Yen and why they keep insisting on attacking," Li Hao said coldly. The female black Jiao said delicately, "Ease your foot off a bit first, and I'll tell you." "Stop dawdling." Li Hao snapped. The demon mist dispersed, and the female black Jiao transformed back into the beautiful woman she was before, now lying on the ground like a willow branch, her cheek still under Li Hao's foot, looking pitifully disheveled. Yet her expression was soft and charming, her eyes tearfully looking up at Li Hao. Don't you know how to show mercy to women? I have no interest in a rotten snake, Li Hao said indifferently. The eyes of the Black Jiao beautiful woman flashed with a trace of humiliation. She hated being called a snake the most, but in order to escape her predicament, she had no choice but to swallow her pride, pleading weakly, I don't know much about Northern Yan's affairs, can you ease your grip first so we can talk more comfortably? Slowly, her palm touched Li Hao's boots, caressing up his pant leg, feeling the provocation from beneath him. Li Hao said coldly, I'm quite impressed with you, thinking of infidelity while your husband has just died, huh? The Black Jiao beautiful woman was taken aback, her eyes widening as she looked at Li Hao in disbelief. What did you say? My husband, he seeing the indifference in Li Hao's eyes, her heart felt as if it had been hammered, thinking back to her husband's rapidly dwindling aura and the scales that had shot out her eyes immediately reddened. The vulnerability on her face vanishing as she looked at Li Hao with ferocity and madness. You killed my husband, I want you dead. I gave you a chance to live. Don't waste it. Li Hao said, want to know about Northern Yen? You can dream on. The Black Jiao beauty looked deranged and let out a roar. My demon race has sworn an oath. We would never betray the sacred palace. You will never learn anything. Go to die. I want you dead. She lunged at Li Hao with her claws bared, even trying to bite his boots, and her body tumbled once again, transforming into her true dragon form. Li Hao furrowed his brows slightly, surprised that the news of her husband's death would provoke such a violent reaction. Could it be that demons also have true feelings? As the Black Jiao writhed madly, Li Hao once again pressed down on its head to subdue it. However, the female Black Jiao appeared to have lost all reason, constantly roaring and rolling around. Seeing this, Li Hao had no choice but to send her on her way, with a crushing blow to the head of the Black Jiao. The piercing shrieks abruptly came to an end. Li Hao shook the blood off his hands, glanced at the twitching tail of the Jiao and sighed softly. He hadn't expected that, after all that effort, he would learn nothing. As for the so-called Sacred Palace and the Northern Yen demon race's plot to invade Dayu, his father, whom he hadn't seen in over a decade, probably knew more than he did. Shaking his head, Li Hao didn't linger any longer. He took a step and returned to the tea stall outside the official road. Those following him, like Fu, would likely find the corpse of the Black Jiao and take care of it. Outside the tea stall, the sight of Li Hao walking silently from beyond the official road startled everyone. With Yue jumping in fright, Li Yuanzhao paused, quickly approaching Li Hao excitedly, and whispered close to his chest. How? Have you entered the soul succession realm? Li Hao was a little surprised, instantly realizing the reason, and nodded with a smile. The soul succession? He had already completed that long ago. Really? Li Yuanzhu's eyes widened in immense excitement. Watching the excitement in his eyes, Li Hao patted his shoulder with a smile. It's a minor matter. Nothing much. Have you all eaten your fill? Li Yuanzhao, already used to Li Hao's casual manner, didn't think it a trivial matter and whispered excitedly, if our mother knew you achieved soul succession, she would be overjoyed. Him thinking of their noble and dignified mother, Li Hao's heart filled with respect that was involuntarily solemn. Over the years, it had only been their mother who treated him consistently well. Time reveals a person's character. When first adapting to this new world's elite environment, he had been naive about human nature, having been taken advantage of. Now, after a long time, he had come to understand the true nature of each madam in the family. For instance, Madame Four, who fostered Yuan Zhao, was not a simple character. She was just childless and extremely low profile in the mansion, appearing gentle and kindly. How? Where did you go? Du Chou asked curiously upon seeing Li Hao arrive. Encountered a demon? Took care of it? Li Hao answered with a smile. He hadn't intended to say anything, but considering they were soon heading to Qi State to hunt demons, it might be good to let them feel a bit of tension ahead of time, to prevent being too relaxed later and risking their lives. A demon? The group was stunned, with Ren Chanqian looking at Li Hao, trying to gauge the truth of his statement. The old man at the tea stall expressed his surprise. Young hero, you said there was a demon? Li Hao said to the old man. Boss, it's getting dark. You should pack up and go home early too. Really? Was there really a demon? The old man asked. His curiosity piqued. Li Hao laughed, but at the same time, he sighed inwardly. He didn't know why he sighed. Without elaborating further, once he saw that everyone had finished eating and drinking, he called them to mount their horses and set off on the red blood horse. As they traveled along the way, Yue and Du Chua seemed to warm up to Li Hao again, So they became more brazen and inquired whether he really had reached the soul succession realm. Li Hao nodded with a smile, not denying it. Both of them were astounded, exclaiming repeatedly, not expecting that the Alpha Academy's strongest disciple would be right beside them. The sword-carrying girl on horseback tightened her grip on the reins. As Li Hao and the others left the tea stall, in the distant sky hidden behind the clouds, an inconspicuous bird flew through the mists toward the horizon. Yet in the bird's eyes lay deep fear. It knew it must deliver this terrifying report to Northern Yen, to Monarch by, "There is a lad of the Li family, aged 14, suspected to be a grandmaster." Undoubtedly, once this news broke out, countless people would be shocked, and if the elders in the sacred palace were aware, they would never allow a second direct disciple from the Gon Tao Palace to arise within the human race. After the bird and the young rider left, in the jungle where the female Jiao's corpse lay, Li Fu and Wei Feng arrived. Having followed the scent there, the smell of blood was just too strong. Chapter 63. Jiao Dragon. Seeing the Jiao Dragon corpses in the jungle with heads already shattered, both were astonished. They still had many precious materials cut from the body of a black Jiao, including an inner core that could boost one's power, as well as reverse scales, Jiao teeth, and sharp claws for weapon forging. It was due to harvesting these materials that they were delayed for a while, and unexpectedly, there was another one here. The two immediately thought of the senior who had secretly assisted them before. This Jiao Dragon was most likely killed by that senior. Looking at the surrounding jungle environment, there weren't too many trees fallen, indicating the battle wasn't intense, suggesting it was one of suppression, two Jiao Dragons entering the territory. Why would they appear near the official road? If it were for hunting, they would go to remote villages. Li Fu's brow furrowed, and suddenly, his pupils shrank as he hurriedly dropped all the scales and the Jiao teeth as tall as himself, rushing forward as he rushed. The divine soul atop his head was offered up, roaming heaven and earth, swiftly following the horse hoof prints on the ground. Wei Feng also realized. His face changed abruptly, disregarding the gathering of materials, and directly using his powers to fly, catching up to the position where Li Hao and the others had been at the tea stall in a blink of an eye. There, the tea stall old man was packing up. It was already dark, and dark clouds were descending in the distance, as if a heavy rain was imminent. Old man, did a few young men on horses pass by here earlier? Wei Feng hurriedly asked. They had been following far behind Li Hao and the others, but they were intercepted by the Jiao Dragon that ambushed them halfway, leading to a fierce battle that caused them to lose distance from Li Hao and his group. They had thought that the Jiao Dragon was ambushing them, wanting to consume their flesh, but there was another one, and it appeared somewhere else, which could only mean the two Jiao Dragons weren't targeting them. But Li Hao and his party, oh, they've long gone, the tea stall old man said with a smile. Feeling surprised to see Wei Feng gone far? Wei Feng was stunned. They didn't encounter any trouble? Without inquiring further, he directly pursued to investigate himself soon, as his divine soul roamed. He saw 5 figures on horseback on the official road ahead. When he saw them clearly, a big stone in his heart fell, and he let out a long breath of relief. Thank goodness. It seemed that the senior acted in time, preventing the black Jiao from being able to strike. He felt secretly fortunate while also feeling helpless. He instinctively felt that the two Jiao Dragons were not targeting the young lady, but the two young masters of the Divine General Mansion. After all, Divine General Mansion guarded the frontier pass and was deeply resented by the demon clans. It seemed plausible they'd send 2 Jiao Dragons to assassinate them in secret. Mixing with the Divine General Mansion on this trip, he wasn't sure if it was good or bad for the young lady. However, the senior who had taken action earlier was most likely someone from Divine General Mansion. Thinking of this, he felt somewhat more at ease in his heart. Thinking of Li Fu still behind, he turned back to the tea stall where he saw Li Fu running over hastily. They're fine, don't worry, Wei Feng immediately reassured him. Upon hearing this, Li Fu took a long sigh of relief. If something had happened to Li Hao, he would have been in dereliction of duty, too ashamed to return to the Divine General Mansion. Would you two like to drink some tea? The tea stall old man asked, already having packed up halfway. Smiling as he spoke, neither of them was in the mood for tea. Li Fu said to Wei Feng, please go and keep an eye on them. I'll immediately send a message back to the mansion so they can come and take care of the Jiao corpses. As for that inner core, I'll send it to you after this mission is over. Of course, Wei Feng shook his head. We owe our thanks to that senior's intervention. Otherwise, we both would have been in trouble. The materials from the Jiao Dragon rightfully belong to Divine General Mansion. No need for long speeches, I'm going to check on the young lady. All right, the two hurriedly went their separate ways, with the tea stall old man watching and shaking his head slightly. Why are they all so anxious, so impatient? Traveling day and night without stopping, 2 days later, Li Hao and his companions arrived within the boundaries of Qi State, and after another half-day of riding, they reached Songyu City where they were tasked with slaying demons. This city wasn't large. Among the hundreds of cities in Qi State, it was of medium size, with a dozen towns surrounding it and hundreds of villages, with a population of around 4 or 5 million. Yue, who had experience executing missions, released messenger birds ahead of their arrival at the city. As they entered the city, the trusted aides from the city lord's mansion came to greet them warmly, especially towards Li Hao and Li Yuanzhao. Yue and Du Choyue watched with envy. When they had come to carry out missions before, they had never received such treatment, just a few courtesy exchanges that were neither warm nor particularly cold. Before long, the five were led to the local monster suppression department. As soon as they arrived at the monster suppression department, they spotted an acquaintance. It's her. At first glance, Du Choyue recognized Song Yuyao dressed in the monster suppression official attire and was somewhat surprised. She hadn't expected the other party to also be on a mission, let alone assigned to their group. Li Yuanzhao and the others also recognized her as the woman who had visited Alpha Academy to find someone and heard that she was one of the top talents from the Black and White Hall at that moment. Song Yuyao was hurrying out of the monster suppression department's gate with another youth and 2 middle-aged men seemingly about to carry out a mission. When Song Yuyao saw the newcomers like Li Hao reporting in, she merely gave them a cursory glance, nodded slightly, and quickly took leave. The youth, however, showed a surprised face, and his eyes flickered when he saw the red blood horse led by Li Hao's group. He gave them a gentle smile and said, with frequent demon calamities outside the city nowadays, all junior brothers must be careful. If you need anything, feel free to come to me. After speaking and waving to them, he also quickly followed Song Yuyao and the others, disappearing into the street. It's Sister Song from the Black and White Hall and Brother Tian. They've actually come too. But Sister Song's official attire, she's a monster suppression inspector. Once Song Yuyao and the others left, Yue exclaimed softly in amazement. In an ordinary city, a monster suppression inspector already holds great authority, second only to the city lord. Du Choyue sighed and said, Sister Song possesses grace akin to that of celestial beings. She's now in the divine travel realm and fully capable of overseeing a city. It's normal for her to wear the inspector's official uniform. Lord Song is indeed formidable. Just yesterday, upon her arrival here, she took down a demon that had been around for hundreds of years, said the middle-aged monster suppression official leading the five, his face showing respect. He then led them into the monster suppression department and had someone bring over official uniforms. Is Songyu City so chaotic that we encounter demons just upon arrival? Du Choyue asked in surprise. The monster suppression instructor, named Shui Fan, treated Li Hao and the rest with considerable politeness and said, lately, demons have become more rampant. Our Songyu City is located near the border of Qi State and hence often sees the shadows of demons. It's not as peaceful as the inner cities, but don't worry, on your first demon-slaying mission, you just need to patrol with the monster suppression officials. There's no danger. Clearly, the monster suppression department took great care of these talents who had come for experience. Moreover, there were 2 young masters from Divine General Mansion among them, and the higher-ups had already given instructions. They must not be exposed to any danger. Hearing the other party's solicitous words, both Yue and Du Choyue felt a quiet joy in their hearts, knowing that thanks to the face given by people like Li Hao, they were likely to get a perfect evaluation and earn 10 academic credits. We are here to slay demons, not to play, Li Yuanzhao said gravely, frowning. Raised in a military household, he was imbued from childhood with a sense of discipline and righteousness. Ren Qianqian, who was about to speak, showed a trace of surprise, glancing at Li Yuanzhao and then at Li Hao with a noticeable change in her eyes, remembering the words Li Hao had shared at the tea house and now hearing Li Yuanzha's remarks, her understanding of the people from Divine General Mansion had completely shifted. Yu Wei and Du Choyue were stunned, looking at each other and secretly smiling bitterly, feeling a mix of shame and embarrassment. Shui Fan hadn't expected his attempt to brown-nose to backfire. Indeed, these scions of powerful families were difficult to serve. Let you go slay demons? Do you think it's because I'm worried you'll get tired? I'm trying to protect my own position. If Li Hao and the others come to harm, who knows whether the Divine General Mansion would unleash its anger. While it may not affect the monster suppression department, Targeting small people within the department who lack a background would be no different from crushing ants. Truly, the people of the Divine General Mansion are admirable for their iron-blooded spirit. I, Chui Fan, have great respect. Though his heart harbored sarcasm, Chui Fan still raised his thumb in admiration as if truly moved by Li Yuanzi's words. This caused the young man's face to unconsciously reveal a slight smile and a sense of pride, proud of his earnestness. Seeing the practiced ways of these career officials, Li Hao knew that Yuan Zhao's words had been in vain, but he couldn't blame others for their flattery. After all, their status was immensely intimidating. For them, slaying demons was a way to earn fame, but for these people, it could be a means of livelihood. It was both a duty and a way of life. Soon, 5 sets of official uniforms were delivered, judging by the sleeve patterns and wooden tags. The uniforms provided to them were all for monster suppression officials. In the monster suppression department, those in the power passage realm would be monster suppression apprentices. Zhou Tian realm practitioners could serve as monster suppression officials, while those in the soul succession realm would be monster suppression instructors. Above that was the inspector level, the same rank as Song Yuyao's uniform signified, a position of high status. Please trouble you, senior, to provide us with a full report of recent demon sightings throughout the territory, Li Hao said to Chui Fan. Chapter 64. Only martial artists assigned to monster suppression can access the full territory's intelligence, Chui Fan said. Monster suppressors also lead teams to eliminate demons but are only responsible for rural villages and towns. However, his intention in saying this wasn't to refuse Li Hao. His tone shifted as he smiled and said, "But since you've traveled from afar, eager to hunt demons, naturally I cannot decline your request. Please follow me with that." He led Li Hao and the others into a side room of the monster suppression department. There were guards in the room with whom Chui Fan was very familiar. After a greeting, he took the group inside. In the room hung a map, the geomantic chart of Songyu City, covering over a dozen small towns and numerous villages in the vicinity. Chui Fan pulled out a record book from the shelf and handed it to Li Hao. "This is the record of demon hunting in and around Songyu City for the past half year. Take your time looking through it. After we've had lunch, it'll take you all on a patrol this afternoon," Chui Fan said with a smile. Li Hao opened the record book and started to read carefully. Li Yuanzhao also leaned in out of curiosity and examined it closely. In a wealthy estate on the outskirts of the city, Ms. Yen, 10 copper coins, Ms. Zhang, 8 copper coins, a young and full-figured beauty reclined on a lounge, slowly flipping through an account book. She spoke to the account keeper beside her. "The demon calamities have been frequent this year, and the tenant farmers' harvests are poor. Please tell my husband to waive some of their taxes. They are suffering too much." The account keeper paused, bowing his head and said, "Madam is merciful. But with the businesses of the various households also struggling this year, further tax reductions would shrink the estate's revenues. We can be frugal. Let the farmers have a good year." The beautiful lady spoke softly and gently. Hearing this, the account keeper nodded and said, "I'll discuss it with the master." "Madam, you are pregnant and have been looking at the account books all morning. You must be tired. It's time to rest," said the delicate and pretty maid beside her with concern. The beautiful lady gently caressed her protruding belly. Her eyes filled with tender love, closed the account book, and, with the help of the maid, slowly rose and returned to her own bedroom. "I'll go to the kitchen and bring you some snacks," the maid said obediently. After helping the beautiful lady lay down on the bed, the beautiful lady nodded gently as the maid left and the door gently closed. She softly caressed her stomach and murmured, "Child, New Year's is coming soon. Mother will soon be able to see you." Her eyes were like water, filled with gentle expectations. "Hee, you're so eager to see me, aren't you?" Suddenly, a strange child's voice echoed in the quiet room, sharp in tone. The beautiful lady snapped back from her thoughts, her eyes widening in shock as she looked at her belly. She heard it clearly. The voice came from inside her 8-month pregnant belly. Before she could comprehend what was happening, she saw her belly suddenly swell up, growing larger and larger, accompanied by waves of tearing pain. With a pop, it burst from her navel, but there was no blood spray. Instead, it deflated quickly like a burst balloon. A wet, withered head, covered in fresh blood, rose slowly from the lattice belly, yet behind the head was a serpent tail-like elongated limb, resembling both a snake and a centipede without legs, gently twisting. Confronted by this horrific scene, even with her years of managing the household, the beautiful lady screamed in terror and fainted. "How hypocritical, your child has come out, yet you don't want to look anymore." The withered head chuckled strangely as it split its mouth, revealing all its sharp teeth. Then the creature swiftly moved, climbing to the upper body of the beautiful lady, and suddenly bit her head with its mouth. It proceeded to swallow her entire upper body, its elongated limb swelling as it did so. "Evil spawn," Suddenly an angry voice sounded, a streak of golden light flashed, and a slender figure darted through the wall, entering the room. It was Song Yueyao, her posture light and graceful. The creature that was devouring the beautiful lady paused, its expression changing dramatically as it quickly spat out the half-eaten body and, like a venomous snake, hurriedly slithered toward the window, trying to escape. Golden Lock trapping dragon. Song Yuyao's face was ice-cold as she quickly cast a spell. The divine soul, although it couldn't cause physical damage, could wield divine skills, particularly adept at countering the strange demon arts of demons. This Golden Lock trapping dragon was a binding skill belonging to the divine travel skill. Golden light suddenly burst forth, trapping the withered, serpentine demon within. Unable to break free before long, hurried footsteps approached, and Song Yuyao's physical body arrived outside the window, leaping down and striking towards the demon entrapped in the golden light with her sword. "Spare me," the demon pleaded in panic. But the sword light was unforgiving, decapitating its head, which rolled onto the floor. Song Yueyao slashed twice more, cutting its body into pieces, then quickly moved inside the room, approached the bed, and saw that the beautiful lattice face was already a bloody mess, showing signs of rot. Looking at her stomach, it was hollow, the organs having been eaten away. She was too late. Her expression darkened. A look of displeasure crossed her face. Despite her experience in slaying demons, she was still filled with rage at this time. All of the house servants and maids within the mansion rushed over, along with the master of the house, a middle-aged merchant in his 40s. Song Yueyao immediately ordered the accompanying people to seal off the room to prevent ordinary people from seeing inside. "You are from the Monster Suppression Department." The master of the house, although knowledgeable and experienced, recognized the official uniform on Tian Songji at a glance. His face changed drastically as he hurriedly asked, "What about Lianer? What has happened to Lianer?" "There is a demon inside. Please do not approach." Tian Songji, a disciple of Black Hall, was on a mission to assist Song Yueyao with the case. He had already seen the tragic scene inside and spoke with a somber voice. "How could there be a demon in my house? Are you sure you are not mistaken? Let me see Lianer." The master pushed against Tian Songji, his teeth clenched as he spoke. Song Yueyao emerged from behind a door, her long sword already sheathed. She glanced at the middle-aged man and said, "Your wife is dead, killed by a monster. I have slain the creature. You should give her a proper burial." "Dead? Dead?" The master was so shocked he became stupefied, then frantically shoved past, trying to rush inside Tian Songji. Reluctant to use force on an ordinary person, could only try his utmost to stop him. Seeing this, Song Yueyao shook her head slightly, signaling him to step aside. After all, he had to see her. There were still burial arrangements to be made. The middle-aged man burst into the room and immediately saw the horrific scene. In an instant, he was thunderstruck, standing petrified on the spot. Song Yueyao instructed Tian Songji, "You stay behind to take care of the aftermath. I need to make a trip over to the city guard." "Okay." Tian Songji agreed. Before Song Yueyao could leave, the middle-aged man suddenly grabbed her arm, his eyes red with rage, and roared at her, Why didn't you come sooner? Why? Give me back my Lianer. Give me back my Lianer." Song Yuyao's expression changed slightly. Instinctively, she struggled free, flung her arm, and sent the man tumbling to the ground. The man fell sitting with a thud and didn't continue to make a scene. Instead, he seemed to crumble, grabbing his head and bursting into deep sobs. She said it was her first time being a mother. She even had the child's name picked out. Why do this to Lianer? Oh heavens, you were so unjust." His wailing echoed throughout the courtyard, reaching the ears of all the house servants and maids blocked outside the door, leaving everyone deeply shaken. A flicker of guilt passed through Song Yuyao's heart as she looked at the now nearly deranged middle-aged man. Knowing that nothing she said would be heard by him at this moment, she just tightened her grip on her sword, said nothing, and turned to leave quickly. Indeed, why couldn't she have been faster? She bit her lower lip lightly. Inside the city lord's mansion, Song Yueyao arrived swiftly, her movements nimble. "Mr. Yu, you wanted to see me?" Song Yueyao saw the city guard responsible for the entire safety of Zhangyu City, Yu Shuhong, in his 40s this year, exuded an air of cultured elegance as he watched the young woman dash towards him. A flicker of deep emotion crossed his eyes. To have reached the divine travel realm in her early 20s and to be nearing perfection in that state, That was the gap between a top prodigy and himself. Governor Song, you have worked hard. You've been slaying demons since you arrived yesterday. We owe you a great deal for sparing the town from disaster, Yu Shuhong said with a light laugh, having just come from the residence. Song Yuyao was not in a good mood, and she replied with a somber expression, exterminating demons is the duty of martial artists like us. It's nothing. May I ask, Mr. Yu, the reason for seeking me? Yu Shuhong, having held high positions for a long time and being adept at reading people, felt a sense of appreciation towards someone who didn't indulge in flattery. His expression turned serious as he said, Governor Song must have seen the recent monster-slaying archives of our city. In the past half-year, monsters have been appearing frequently, and about half a month ago, a large number of monsters began gathering in the Blackwind Mountain Range about 100 miles east of the city. The caravans passing by have all met with misfortune. Yu Shuhong spread out a geomantic chart on the table and pointed to a mountain range on the eastern side. I sent men to investigate, and we lost 4 monster hunters just to gather some information. As he said this, he turned his serious gaze towards Song Yuyao. Among these monsters, there is a great demon that wants to unite the smaller demons and devour the entire Songyu city. Song Yuyao was taken aback, her face turned pale. Songyu City had millions of residents. Was this demon planning to overrun the city? Was it intent on carrying out a massacre? This was not a common occurrence, even on the border. Then have you notified the Xia family? Song Weiyao asked immediately. The Xia family was one of the 4 great divine generals, and Qi State was the large state under their protection. Yu Shuhong gave a wry smile and said, I did, but it seems the Xia family is currently engaged in a battle elsewhere. They said to wait until the demon actually attacks, and then they will send someone to deal with it, asking us not to chase shadows. A flash of anger crossed Song Yuyao's eyes, but she knew the divine general mansion was not a place she could comment on. If words she spoke here were to secretly reach the Xia family, it could be somewhat detrimental to Tan Palace. She asked, is this information true or false? Yu Shuhong's face turned solemn, and he said seriously, it is true, of course. Then he added, but I am not 100% certain, so if possible, could you, Governor Song, take the lead in asking for the Xia family's assistance? Song Weiyao frowned. She wasn't well acquainted with the city guard and didn't want to be used as a pawn. After thinking for a moment, she said, I only hold the position of governor and may not be able to move them to action, so I will investigate the situation first. Yu Shuhong seemed to anticipate her response and nodded. All right, then shall I join you? The Blackwind Mountain Range is too dangerous with a great demon lurking there. That won't be necessary. I will just scout the edge, Song Weiyao said, and soon after took her leave of him. Watching her go, Yu Shuhong watched for a long time, eventually letting out a long sigh. Meanwhile, in the monster suppression department, Li Hao had just finished going through the recent monster-slaying records and had seen some other reports of monster activity. Blackwind Mountain Range, a gathering of monsters. Li Hao's eyes narrowed slightly. Chapter 65. The monster suppression department's food was excellent, and aside from Li Hao, even people like Li Yuanzhao, who were accustomed to delicacies from the mountains and seas, ate heartily, their bellies and goblets full. In Cui Fan's words, we slayers of demons must always face life-threatening dangers, so we surely can't die with an empty stomach, right? That made sense. After eating their fill, they rested for a quarter of an hour. Then, Cui Fan took out the map to show Li Hao and the others the area they would patrol that afternoon, before asking them to get ready and assemble outside. The location for the patrol had previously shown signs of demon activity, which had been addressed. This time, they were going to check for any oversights, making it quite suitable for taking along newcomers. When it came time to gather, however, Cui Fan saw only Li Yuanzhao and Ren Chanqian among the 4 people and couldn't help but ask in surprise, where's the last one? Hao told us he went to the outhouse and asked us not to wait for him. As for the task assessment, he said Master Cui can just score him however you see fit. Li Yuanzhao conveyed Li Hao's words as they were. Cui Fan was speechless. Then he chuckled wryly to himself. Sure enough, a young master from a great family had come here only to amuse himself and broaden his horizons. Indeed, Cui Fan hadn't taken it seriously either. In this day and age, those who took things too seriously were the ones to lose out. All right then, he said. Cui Fan didn't say much and led the 4 people on their way, while secretly devising an excuse in his mind to award the young master a perfect score. After all, there was no way he could give a low score. He would rather be accused of negligence than to mark down the score, because while the young master might only face issues with schooling, Cui Fan himself would be at risk of losing his job. Songyu City was square-shaped and surrounded by mountains on all 4 sides. About 30 li to the east of the city lay a mountain range that spanned across the large river leading to Songyu City. The range stretched for dozens of li with peaks upon peaks and lush forests. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the large leaves, leading to heavy moisture in the woods and making the forest seem shadowy and ghostly even during broad daylight. Near the mountain range, scattered like splashes of mud, lay some villages. Each village had several hunting households that relied on the mountain for sustenance and lived off hunting. As the saying goes, the duck knows first when the water is warm. These hunters who spent their years living off the land were the ones who best understood the dangers of the mountains. Since several bold hunters who defied superstition had been found in the mountains, dismembered, nobody dared to venture into them again, with even the collection of firewood being limited to the foothills. At this moment, however, a figure rushed through the air above the mountain range, speeding forward clad in the black attire of the monster suppression department. This person was none other than Li Hao. Going to the outhouse was just an excuse. He wasn't needed for something like a patrol, and that Master Chui certainly wouldn't lead them to slay real demons. If there were any, they were only minor ones for practice. As for the matter of academic credits, he cared even less for them. Anything that could be exchanged for credits at the Black and White Hall, the Li family already had, and the top-tier peerless technique wasn't something you could exchange for mere credits. His only goal in coming to the Black Wind Mountain Range was to find the whereabouts of that demon, the Tiger Robe Immortal. Along the way, Li Hao noticed many demons flickering in the woods below and various spirits and monsters lurking among the trees. But they were all minor demons, with faint demon auras. Once reaching the soul succession realm, one could glimpse the demon auras through the perspective of the divine soul. One could see the energies of heaven and earth, and these wandering energies, like accumulated snow, would settle on all things in the mountains and rivers. Given enough time, they would adhere firmly. Bamboo, rocks, animals all were covered by qi. It was just that they were faint and pure, like colorless thin mist. Martial artists, however, were different. Their qi was as vigorous as flames, and depending on the cultivation technique they practiced, the color of their qi would change. Those in the divine travel realm and even the 15 Li realm had qi as dazzling as stars. If not deliberately subdued, their presence could be discerned from Li away. It was the same with demons, however. Demons with Taoist cultivation usually hide their demonic aura and blend into the crowd, making them hard to spot. At this moment, within the Black Wind Mountain Range, various dense and faint auras drifted about. Li Hao released a golden light from the top of his head and his divine soul ventured forward, surveying the situation. Deep in the mountain range, in front of a cave with rugged, grotesque rocks, leaning on a huge boulder, there sat a demon almost as tall as 4 or 5 zhang, with the appearance of half-man, half-bear. Scattered by its feet were pure white bones, and the relatively flat stone beneath its bottom was padded with some tattered and wrinkled human skins, the pungent stench of evil spreading around. Beside it, there were other figures in various poses, including a long snake with the upper body of a seductive woman, a reptile with a withered head, and a monster with the lower body of a white baby's legs attached to the waist of a centipede. Great demon of mighty strength. Our Black Wind Mountain Range has already assembled over 20,000 lesser demons, 800 spirits, and 25 who can transform, were ready to join forces with the Red Eyebrow Taoist to devour Songyu City at any moment. A snake woman with a winding figure and a seductive face said coquettishly as her head swayed in the air. A gleam of craving showed in her eyes as she flickered her serpent tongue, seemingly impatient. Once we're done eating, we'll make our escape. The passage by Wangshuan Mountain has been cleared, ready for our departure at any moment. Another gaunt and sparingly haired old creature said with a titter. We must wait for the right moment. The bear demon's face was filled with savage energy, yet its voice was calm. Well, act after the Red Eyebrow Taoist leads the others from the north in the attack. That man surnamed you secretly sent a message to the Xia family half a month ago, but luckily the Red Eyebrow Taoist had a way to handle it. The Xia family won't be coming for a while. After all this time, we finally get to feast properly. So satisfying. The meat supplied by that man surnamed you is getting worse every time. This time, I must eat him. Heh, that's not your turn. The Tiger Robe Immortal has already reserved it. The bear demon also glanced at the talking wolf demon and said coldly, that you is the brother of Tiger Robe. It is reserved for him alone. I was just saying, how could I possibly compete with the Tiger Robe Immortal for food? The wolf demon hastily said with a sheepish smile as they conversed. Suddenly, the bear demon seemed to sense something and looked up towards the woods. There, a young man clad in dark clothes with a sword strapped to his waist brushed aside roadside weeds and walked slowly into this mountain heartland occupied by numerous great demons. At this very moment, the other demons also became aware, realizing a human had approached so closely without their detection. So many demons. Li Hao looked around, his gaze sweeping over each of the great demons in turn. They only slightly concealed their auras. They didn't hide them completely, standing out like candles in the darkness as he saw the hellish scene before him. His expression changed, barely conceiving the number of humans cruelly slaughtered here, a monster suppression envoy? Upon seeing Li Hao's attire, all the demons were taken aback. The dragon pattern on his cuff and the number of patterns on his dark clothes indicated he was just a monster suppression envoy, yet he dared to come before them? HM? Are you here to deliver the meat supply? But it was just delivered a few days ago and you don't have any meat with you, said an old man with a high-pitched, strange laugh who was as short as a dwarf. He hopped and skipped toward Li Hao but watched him carefully. Li Hao knew what the demons meant by meat supply. Delivering meat? He paused, suddenly realizing the incredible implications within those words. Utterly chilling, his mind raced with numerous thoughts, and Li Hao scanned the demons before asking, "Which of you is the tiger robe immortal?" Looking for the tiger robe? The demons were bewildered. The emaciated old man grinned and said, "Boy, you've got guts. Aren't you afraid of us?" Afraid? Li Hao slowly drew the demon-slaying sword from his waist. "You've got audacity, being surrounded by me, and yet you don't run." Chapter 66. Hearing Li Hao's words, the demons were taken aback for a moment before they all burst into laughter, although they found Li Hao a bit peculiar, not like the common monster suppression agents, given his age, even if he were an exceptional talent. How strong could he be? There were at least 20 shape-shifted great demons here. In the demon race, only those in the divine travel realm could shapeshift, whereas those in the 15 Li realm could completely transform, perfectly concealing their demon bodies without any trace. Kid, have you been scared senseless? Even you Shu Hong, that old-timer, wouldn't dare to be disrespectful to us. The demoness with the body of a snake giggled. So, who is the tiger robe immortal? Li Hao asked again, seeing her words ignored. A flash of annoyance crossed the demoness eyes as she flicked her forked tongue and moved to approach. "What do you want with tiger robe?" The giant bear suddenly spoke calmly. "Nothing much." Li Hao flipped the blade in his hand and said, "Just borrowing its head to pay homage to my uncle's heroic spirit." The giant bear felt his caution was overdone, having thought it was a messenger who came. He no longer fancied watching Li Hao and whispered, "Eat him." These words were directed at the other demons. The seductive demoness, hearing this, was the first to rapidly snake towards Li Hao, suddenly smiling sweetly, her voice sultry. "Come nicely into my mouth." The demon aura filled the air, but she ripped open a huge, bloody maw, distorting her bewitching face grotesquely. Bewitchment techniques were in full force, enough to influence even those in the soul succession realm, turning their minds chaotic. Crawling obediently into her mouth, but at that moment a streak of dark light flashed by. The half-open bloody maw, as if lifted by the wind, unexpectedly tumbled backward, the cut clean. Blood suddenly sprayed out, splattering all over the ground. The mockery in the other demon's eyes instantly froze, and the dwarfish, emaciated old man who had almost reached Li Hao stopped in his tracks, staring blankly at the young man. The demon-slaying blade in the young man's hand had disappeared. The black blade hung in midair, then like a shadowy glint of dark light, it darted out, tracing an arc. In an instant, several great demons' heads fell where the arc passed, without even a chance to react. This abrupt change came too fast, surpassing their reactions and imaginations. "Since none of you will speak, I'm left with no choice but to slaughter you all. Using you as a sacrificial altar works too," Li Hao murmured to himself as he spoke. The black demon-slaying blade hovering in midair didn't stop, instead charging out again urgently. 15 Li realm. What kind of monster is he? All the demons snapped awake, looking at Li Hao in horror, desperately scattering in all directions, trying to escape the demon-slaying blade, but their movement techniques were nowhere near as fast. Controlling objects within 40 Li was not merely 2.5 times beyond the 15 Li, it was also a crushing superiority in strength and speed. It's like some people throw stones 20 meters while others can throw 100 meters. The difference in arm strength is self-evident. Besides, they hadn't even reached the 15 Li realm and couldn't yet fly, so at this moment, some great demons had chosen to abandon their physical bodies, directly employing their divine souls to flee. As long as they could preserve their divine souls, they could possess other bodies again. The capacious bear's expression also changed, abruptly standing up. With its massive body like a small tower, it stared intently at Li Hao, as if trying to see through the youth's true essence. The 15 Li realm? How old is this young man? It didn't allow its subordinates to continue being slaughtered by Li Hao and abruptly attacked, spouting a black flame that transformed into a black fire dragon in midair, clawing its way towards Li Hao, revealing that it too was of the 15 Li realm. Li Hao glanced up, having already noticed that this bear demon had the strongest aura. But in his eyes, compared to the divine travel realm, the difference wasn't much. Whoosh. His divine soul's power covered the blade, instantly splitting the fire dragon and directly chopping down upon the bear demon's head. However, the skull of the bear demon was extremely hard and the blade only managed to slice half a foot deep before it got stuck. Unable to advance further, Li Hao stepped forward, his figure appearing like teleportation in front of the pained bear demon. In its wide, terrified and shocked eyes, he raised his fist and smashed down hard, the force exceeding 10 million pounds was gathered in his fist, and the destructive force it brought when smashing down was far more than 10 million pounds, especially with the push from the controlling object's power. The entire body of the bear demon was violently thrown against the rocks it had been leaning on, shattering them and flying backward for over a dozen meters, crashing into its own cave. Blood burst from its throat, and the bear demon was filled with horror. It possessed divine power naturally, with boundless strength, self-proclaimed as a true giant strength deity, but the power erupted by this young man now scared even itself. How could such a small flesh and blood body have such a brutal force? Li Hao merely glanced at the bear demon, then turned and waved his hand, pulling out the demon-slaying blade stuck in the bear demon's head, and as his gaze swept around, the blade turned into a dark light and flew off. Those divine souls that scattered in different directions hadn't even made it several li away before vanishing from sight, only to be chased down by the demon-slaying blade. The mere demon-slaying blade couldn't harm these divine souls, but with Li Hao's divine soul's power on it, it was more than enough to split their divine souls apart. Screams echoed from all directions, some cut short before they could even fully escape their lips as the bodies abruptly fell to the ground. The once terror-filled peak, where over 20 great demons gathered, was left with only the bear demon in a mere instant. The rest of the great demons either had their bodies cleaved open or lay limp on the ground, their divine souls dissipated miles away. A gentle breeze rustled through the woods, carrying the thick stench of blood to the nostrils of the bear demon, making it nearly choke. For the first time, the bear demon found the smell wafting from its own mountaintop to be unbearably foul, causing its stomach to churn and a sense of nausea to overwhelm it, fear so intense it induced the urge to vomit. Are you a grandmaster from Tianren sect? Watching the youth approach step by step, the bear demon could not hide the terror in its eyes. Merely from their brief exchange of blows, it knew even in the 15-li realm it was no match for the boy. The gap was unimaginably vast. It was now beginning to suspect that the teenager was some grandmaster who had rejuvenated back to youth. Among these demons I've just killed, is there the tiger robe immortal? Li Hao walked up to the bear demon, stopped, and looked up slightly at the great demon that was still towering like a small building even as its sack collapsed on the ground. The bear demon now understood that it was the tiger robe that had provoked this terrifying youth, and the latter had come seeking vengeance. Tiger robe resentment filled its heart, its thoughts racing as it gritted its teeth and said, "Tiger robe isn't here, it's in the north." The north? Li Hao raised an eyebrow, looking suspiciously at the bear demon. "There are many more of your kind out there, you'd better not lie." The bear demon's expression changed slightly and it immediately said, "I am not deceiving you. Tiger robe is indeed from our Black Wind mountain range, but it's clever and capable, so it was sent to the north." "What is it doing in the north?" "We're planning to ally with the north to take down Sangyu City. It went there to assist," the bear demon said breathlessly, concealing the identity of the red eyebrow Taoist. "There are demons in the north?" Li Hao paused as the intelligence from the monster suppression department had no records about the north. It had always been peaceful there. "How many demons are there in the north?" Li Hao immediately asked. "About the same as here." "Why do you want to attack Sangyu City? Do you know the consequences of provoking Dayu?" Li Hao demanded. The bear demon had a bitter smile in its heart. "Why else would you humans slay demons, if not to pick on the weak? Who could have anticipated that Sangyu City would shelter a monster like the youth before me?" Of course, it couldn't dare to voice out such a thought, so it could only display a face of forced desperation, saying, "Although we are demons, we only seek to fill our bellies, much like how the human race eats livestock. It's the same principle." Li Hao's eyes turned cold. The mention of eating instantly brought forth a surge of killing intent from deep within him. Just for eating? Li Hao suppressed his urge to kill, staring at the bear demon, attempting to probe for more information. Felling Li Hao's killing intent, the bear demon's heart shuddered, attempting to apply the logic of the human race's philosophy in a position of weakness. "All beings in the world survive for, well, survival. We are the same, aren't we? There's nothing wrong with that, is there? Who's discussing right or wrong with you? I'm only asking you, is attacking Sangyu City just for the sake of eating?" Li Hao pressed, holding back his anger. The decision to attack Sangyu City was spearheaded by the red-eyebrow Taoist. Although the bear demon had heard of other reasons, it naturally wouldn't share them with Li Hao. How else would it argue its case? If not for survival, we wouldn't take such risks, the bear demon continued, seemingly transforming into a Confucian scholar, persisting in its discussion of righteousness with Li Hao. Heaven and earth nurture all things, and all things have the right to survive. Don't they? Li Hao took a deep breath and asked again, what does tiger robe look like? Is it a tiger demon? The bear demon was startled, disappointed that the human before it hadn't taken its philosophy to heart, which made it somewhat panic. That's right, tiger robe is a tiger demon it has cultivated for nearly 1,000 years. Good. Receiving the information he wanted, Li Hao nodded slightly. Before the bear demon could react, Li Hao suddenly leaped forward, his fist smashing out and striking the bear demon on its brow, the force piercing through and shattering its brain. The bear demon's mouth opened slightly in shock and disbelief. Its eyes gradually lost their light as it collapsed, falling to the ground with a thud like a giant rock tumbling over. Discuss right and wrong with a demon? Li Hao was in no mood for such debates. Moreover, compared to right or wrong, one's own stance was far more essential. Facing the countless white bones and skeletons around him, how could he possibly say to the bear demon, yes, you're not wrong, to hell with right or wrong, I am of the human race. Chapter 67. After solving the issue with the bear demon, Li Hao noticed some activity inside a nearby cave. When he sent his divine soul to investigate, he saw 7 disheveled survivors, men and women, all aged between 20 to 30 years old. With no children or old people among them, the 7 were shackled by their hands and feet, with the other end of the chains threaded through a slit in a large rock. Unless someone could drag the rock away, there was no way to free themselves. Having seemingly experienced some terrifying ordeal, all 7 had expressions of bewilderment and fear on their faces. Some were already numb, lost in a daze. Li Hao sighed inwardly as he commanded a stone to break the chains, setting them free. But even as the shackles on their limbs were gone, it seemed they were still bound by other chains. After a brief moment of being stunned, they looked around blankly, still standing in place, with no attempt to flee. One of them seemed to recall something and started trembling, curling up on the ground and frantically grabbing the broken chains to wrap them around their own limbs, murmuring pleadings nonstop. Don't eat me, please don't eat me. They were already paralyzed with fear. Li Hao fell into silence. He wasn't accustomed to comforting people and felt it was better to give them some time to regain their senses. Meanwhile, he took the opportunity to tidy up everything outside. He casually controlled objects to gather the corpses of the demons, stacking them into a high platform, arranged it neat and square. Lin, as your unworthy disciple, all I can offer are these demons to commemorate your valiant spirit. Li Hao flipped his hand and took out a wine gourd from behind him. Then he unscrewed the gourd and poured the wine over the bodies in front of the altar. Before him was a sea of blood and corpses, but in his mind, he saw that courtyard bathed in the brilliant glow of the sunset. It was the night when the man sang poems over drinks. It was that afternoon when the man, seeing himself unable to absorb the Foundation establishment elixir, hung his head in sorrow. It was also that autumn, when fallen leaves landed on the chessboard, and the two bantered and bickered over a game of strategy. Li Hao shook the wine gourd, which had one last swig left, tilted his head back to drink it, and softly said, Lin, cheers. Afterwards, he stowed the wine gourd, turned around with the demon-slaying knife in hand, and walked toward the forest outside. In this mountain range that stretched for hundreds of miles, there were tens of thousands of demons, with just the nearby area gathering several tens of thousands. Whoosh! Li Hao stood on the leaves of a treetop. His divine soul burst out from the top of his skull, guiding the demon-slaying knife, shuttling through the green forest, sweeping in all directions. Various demons of all races, be they creeping or sleeping, foraging or frolicking, met their end as a dark light streaked by, severing their lives. The dark light shuttled through the mountains like a flying needle, piercing through the bodies of demon after demon. Sensing the danger, the demons panicked and fled in all directions, but the dark light moved faster. If it had been an ordinary person at the 15 Li realm, it might not have been so easy to slaughter them, but Li Hao's range and speed of object control were several times that of an ordinary practitioner in the same realm, and he hadn't even used any special methods yet. The tens of thousands of demons that had gathered at the foot of the mountain were terrified, clueless about what was happening. They fled on instinct, while others rushed to the mountain peak to seek answers from their king, but were beheaded before reaching the summit. The whole mountain trembled violently, as if struck by an earthquake. The scattered demons, barely 10 miles out, were all slain. Blood stained the shrubs and the earth red, trickling like tiny rivulets along the wrinkles of the land, flowing into lower areas and merging into tears for this mountain range. The divine soul returned to its body, and the dark light settled back into his hand. Liao glanced at it, having slain tens of thousands of demons. The blade's edge was now dulled. If it weren't for the coverage of his divine soul, the knife would have broken long ago, unable to penetrate the thick bodies of certain demons. He didn't stop there but continued with the dull-edged black knife in hand towards a region dozens of miles away. There, some demons, unaware of the situation here, were still wandering near their dens. Since he was here, might as well eliminate them all. There really are demons gathering here. In the high skies above the Black Wind mountain range, a stealthy golden light moved through the clouds, which was Song Yuyao's divine soul. Her physical self was sneaking along the periphery of the mountain range, while her divine soul soared, surveying the entire situation of the mountains along the way. She had already seen the traces of many demons in the part of the range closer to Yu City. There were only a few demons with sparse demonic aura, merely small demons that had just become sentient, barely a threat. Even hunters armed with crossbows could scare them off. But as she went deeper, dense clouds of demonic energy began to enshroud the mountains and forests, and their numbers increased. The Yu City Guard wasn't wrong. There's definitely a gathering of demons here, and it's very obvious. Song Yueyao frowned deeply. But why, with the situation so clear? Did the Yu City Guard not feel confident in reporting truthfully, asking the Xia family for help? She couldn't understand. Didn't the Yu City Guard fear the demons might suddenly attack the city? Or is it that the Xia family was unwilling to come, bearing grudges with each other? But if Songyu City were to fall and the common people suffered heavy casualties, both the Yu City Guard and Xia family would be held accountable. She could not understand and felt that the situation was somewhat complicated at this moment. As she continued to delve deeper, before long she arrived at the depths of the Black Wind mountain range. Along the way, the toughest demons she encountered were those in the Soul Succession realm patrolling the mountains, which she easily avoided and went undetected. Suddenly, a rotting stench wafted through the forest ahead of her. Song Yuyao's face changed slightly and she stopped in her tracks, cautiously extending her divine soul ahead to investigate. Soon, she beheld an unimaginable scene. Rivers of blood flowed through the mountain forest. Nearly all bodies of water were dyed red with fresh blood, and the bodies of demons were strewn about. Song Yuyao was stunned for a moment, having initially thought that the putrid wind was caused by demons capturing and harming members of the human race. She hadn't expected it to be the demon's own blood. Her face showed astonishment and doubt. What on earth had happened here? Hesitating for a moment, she let her divine soul carefully advance in stealth. Soon, she reached the corpses of some demons, quickly checked them, and discovered that the wounds were fresh, the death no more than an hour old. Someone was killing demons. The thought popped into Song Yuyao's mind, sending a jolt through her heart. Could it be another inspector from the Monster Suppression Department? There was only one inspector in Songyu City's Monster Suppression Department in the Divine Travel Realm, tasked with guarding the city on the border alongside the Defender of Yu City. She was a parachuted officer, temporary, with a tenure not meant to last long in Songyu City. In the midst of her astonishment, Song Yuyao had her divine soul scout ahead. If she could meet the other party, they might assist each other and gauge the situation here. However, as she delved deeper, the expression on Song Yuyao's face turned increasingly shocked. All along the way were demon corpses. Everywhere she looked, packed closely together, her divine soul saw at least 10,000 by her reckoning. The density of demons gathered here certainly qualified as a small-scale demon wave, but what was most shocking was that all these demons were dead. Controlling so many demons must definitely be the deed of a great demon. But where was that great demon? Song Yuyao had never clashed with that inspector, but considering what she was seeing, she doubted she could achieve such a feat herself, nor did she possess the courage to try. As her divine soul continued forward, she saw even more demon corpses. Even more than before, among them were some with massive bodies, showing signs of transforming, evidently demons close to the Divine Travel Realm, but without exception, all were dead, with surprisingly consistent wounds, all pierced through vital points by a sharp weapon. Before long, Song Yuyao arrived at the foot of a great mountain. She could vaguely make out that at the mountaintop, a thick and heavy demonic aura was brewing like clouds. Such a fearsome demon mist was unmistakably the work of a great demon, and judging by the color of the demonic aura, there was more than one. Her heart raced with fright, feeling the urge to turn around and flee, but the sight of demon corpses scattered at the mountain's base and the eerie silence at its peak spurred an unbelievable thought in her heart, suppressing her fear. She allowed her divine soul to soar silently, concealing its presence while peering down at the demon clouds below the mountain summit. This glance left her expression frozen. A platform piled with the bodies of over 20 great demons stood erect at the mountaintop, arranged neatly and orderly as a light breeze passed by. She could even see some of the demons' solidified eyeballs, which retained the terror and fear of their final moments. Song Yueyao stood stiffly, too shocked to utter a word. The number of great demons was more than she had expected, and all of them were dead. These were all great demons from the divine travel realm. Who could have killed all of them? That inspector? Impossible. They were also of the divine travel realm, accomplishing such a deed, even for the top talents in the divine travel realm, would be exceedingly difficult unless it were someone from the 15th realm. Was it a general sent by the Xia family? Or perhaps a passing expert from some sect? Song Yueyao came back to her senses and suddenly noticed several figures emerging slowly from a cave atop the mountain, all members of the human race, looking bedraggled as if they were survivors. She swiftly set off towards the mountaintop and approached the survivors. "Were you all captured by demons?" she immediately asked upon seeing the survivors, expecting that they would feel safe upon seeing her monster suppression department uniform. She was taken aback when they trembled at the sight of Song Yueyao, their eyes showing a fear as if they had sighted a demon. Don't capture us. Please, let us go." The survivors collapsed and began kowtowing and weeping in despair. Song Yueyao was dumbfounded. Her mind couldn't quite catch up for a moment, and after a short pause, she angrily said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I am an inspector from the Monster Suppression Department, here to rescue you. Spare us, my lord. Please spare us." The survivors kept on kowtowing and begging for mercy. Song Yueyao watched in silence, wondering if they had all been driven mad by the demons. If that were the case, she likely wouldn't get anything useful from them. Thinking the expert who had slain the demons had already deduced the survivors had gone mad. However, these great demons had clearly died not long ago. With this in mind, Song Yueyao didn't bother with the survivors any longer and swiftly spurred her divine soul to scout in all directions. Soon, she came across a blood trail with demon corpses all along the way. She hurriedly followed it. Not long after, as Song Yueyao landed on a tree branch, she stopped dead in her tracks in an open area of the mountain forest ahead. There lay demon corpses all over, all of them ape demons, seemingly a tribe, but at this moment, they had all been slaughtered. Blood pooled on the ground, and in the midst of these corpses stood a young man. He wore the most common dark uniform of a monster suppression officer and held in his hand a damaged and worn demon-slaying knife. Chapter 68. Song Yueyao was stunned. She had assumed it was either a passing strongman or a general from the Xia family taking action. Never did she expect it to be the Monster Suppression Department, and only their most common demon-suppressing agent. Suddenly, she noticed the young man's face, and it struck her as incredibly familiar. She seemed to have seen him somewhere. This morning? Song Yueyao was somewhat face-blind and usually paid no heed to others, as if they were grass or trees, but her memory wasn't bad, and she quickly recalled that this young man was one of the 5 newcomers who had reported to the Monster Suppression Department that morning. He was also a disciple of the Tan Palace. Thinking of his identity, Song Yueyao suddenly remembered the youth with a wild rabbit she saw when she went to the Alpha Academy earlier. He was the person in front of her now, just that he had changed into a profound robe, which made her feel a bit estranged at the same time. Li Hao also noticed the woman chasing after him from behind. He slightly turned his head to glance, and their eyes met in an instant. Li Hao didn't pay much attention, nodded slightly, and continued forward, carrying the demon-slaying blade. But Song Yueyao, struck as if by lightning, stood frozen on the tree. That tilted head, that side profile, so familiar. Images of that cave suddenly surged into her mind. That fleeting side profile. Is it him? Song Yueyao was astonished. Could the disciple who secretly passed through the Mo River be this same person? She found it hard to believe, yet seeing the bodies of the ape demons all around, she suddenly came to a realization and became certain she had not seen wrongly this time among the outer court disciples. Who else besides the person in front of her could pass through the Mo River? Her figure flashed, leaping down from the treetops, and she hurriedly chased after Li Hao, calling out, "Wait a moment." Li Hao stopped, turned slightly and looked at her. "Senior sister?" This address of senior sister inexplicably gave Song Weiyao a sense of security, and the tension that had gripped her all the way seemed to relax a little. She quickly asked, "Did you kill these ape demons?" Even though she had an answer in her heart, she couldn't help but blurt out the question. Li Hao was slightly silent. Did this senior sister have poor eyesight? Couldn't she see there was no one else here? At a death scene like this, there's no need for Conan. Even Genta could have cracked the case, right? Seeing the odd look that passed through Li Hao's eyes, Song Yuyao's cheeks turned slightly red. Realizing that she had perhaps asked a bit redundantly, she looked at the demon-slaying blade in Li Hao's hand, the bloodstains, the mottled and jagged edge. It wasn't difficult to imagine how many battles it had gone through. "The great demon on the mountaintop, did you kill that one too?" she asked, gazing intently at Li Hao. Li Hao nodded slightly. "It was just a group from the divine traveling rank and one from the 15 Li realm, nothing much to speak of." Seeing Li Hao nod, Song Yuyao's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help but ask, "How old are you this year?" Asking a young man's age is quite impolite, Li Hao said. Song Yuyao almost choked. In the midst of these mountains of corpses and seas of blood, he still had the mood to joke. However, even if Li Hao didn't say it, she could tell that Li Hao was at most 14 or 15 years old. The Tan Palace's new recruit age limit was a maximum of 16, a 15 or 16-year-old at the 15 Li realm. She suddenly felt as if she was struck a heavy blow, shocked beyond belief. She herself was just a step, 2 steps, 3 steps away from this realm. She was one of the Tan Palace's top geniuses, a 9th-grade battle body. Before reaching the Grandmaster realm, the talent of a 9th-grade battle body greatly assisted in cultivation. Even so, she was being left behind by such a large gap. The last time she heard about such a shocking prodigy, it was about the 9th young master from the Li family that her grandfather mentioned, but she was too young back then to have seen it for herself. It was like hearing a mythological tale. Yet the young man before her was standing right in front of her now, almost as if the legend had stepped into reality, making it feel surreal. "Are you here alone? How did you come to this place?" Song Weiyao couldn't help but ask, looking at his profound robe, which had barely a few stains of blood, while only the blade of his demon-slaying sword was thoroughly ravaged. It looked as if he was still cutting down demons with ease. "Senior sister, are you interrogating a prisoner?" Li Hao said helplessly. Song Weiyao was speechless. She rarely took such an intense interest in others, only to find herself being frowned upon. "There's a demon here, and since I'm free, I came over," she said. Li Hao saw the embarrassed discomfort on her face and softened his heart to offer an explanation before turning around and continuing on with his sword in hand. Chatting was one thing, but the work couldn't stop. He lightly leaped up, standing atop a tree branch, conjured his divine soul, wrapped it around his demon-slaying sword, and started to patrol forward. Witnessing this scene, Song Yuyao's pupils slightly contracted. Realizing that no amount of words could compare to what one's eyes could see, her face grew a bit pale. She had thought her grandfather's words were an exaggeration and overpraised by the masses, but now she understood that there were indeed such monstrous talents in the world. But how is this possible? Being of a 9-rank battle physique and considered a genius, could she only catch glimpses of this young man's back? Before long, the black sword flew back, landing in Li Hao's hand, flicking off the fresh blood, and seeing that he had cleared this mountain range's end, he turned around, ready to erase the remaining demons along the way as well. "Wait for me," Song Yueyao called out, having come to her senses, and hurriedly chased after Li Hao. When she caught up to Li Hao, she looked at his profile and asked, "Back in Tan Palace, it was you who passed the Mo River Challenge, wasn't it?" Li Hao couldn't help but glance at her. Although Tan Palace announced a reward for those who passed, he still felt a twinge of unexplainable guilt. After all, that was the exam for the other new students. It was me. "Yes. How did you do it?" "The palace master even issued a reward decree. Why didn't you claim it?" Song Yueyao asked curiously. "How did he do it?" Li Hao couldn't quite articulate it. It seemed as though he just drew and then somehow passed on further reflection. Perhaps the black-robed scholar was ashamed, realizing he was no match, and fled in a panic. Seeing Li Hao silent, Song Yueyao uttered, Li Hao snapped out of it and said, "Is it to claim the Red Sky precious sword?" "Yes. As you can see, I am of the 15 Li realm," Li Hao stated. Song Yueyao felt as if she'd been struck in the face with a hammer, a sensation both suffocating and searing. 15 Li? Did he think the Red Sky was too inferior? Damn it! She bit her lips slightly, curious and yet frustrated with this young man. Suddenly, a beacon of distress smoke rose in the distance, and then burst open. Song Yueyao glanced at it, her pupils shrinking drastically as she exclaimed in shock, "Xian, how is this possible? That's a critical signal released only when demons attack a city." Li Hao was momentarily stunned. As a member of a martial family, he was naturally familiar with these signals. Without an extremely grave situation, Xian would not be released. Once released, the city would shut its gates and go on full alert. Demons attacking the city? He suddenly remembered the bear demon's words about trouble to the north. "I need to go back now," Li Hao immediately said, and with his figure flashing, he stepped up and soared away, turning into a dark silhouette that vanished from Song Yueyao's sight, controlling his flight. Song Yueyao watched for a moment, somewhat baffled, sensing that Li Hao's speed at controlling his flight seemed faster than any other 15 Li realm individuals she had seen. "But why not take me along?" Song Yueyao stomped her foot in irritation, gritted her teeth, and quickly traversed the jungle towards the city. Chapter 69. Songyu City. Apart from the Monster Suppression Department and the City Lord's Mansion, 3 major families had established their presence there, among which the Lu family took the lead. Having rooted themselves in Songyu City for over 100 years, the other 2 families, the Qi family and the Zhao family, rose later. The Qi family was a branch that migrated from another city, managing to build a considerable business within just a few decades in this location. At this moment, news of the demons attacking the city had already reached the hands of the 3 families' patriarchs. Upon receiving the message, all 3 families were somewhat shocked. It had been nearly 100 years since Songyu City last saw a demon attack. The most sensational episode had been 30 years ago when a few great demons entered the city causing trouble, leading to countless deaths and injuries and creating quite a stir at that time. But now, only some old people still remembered it. Army reports. Can't be false. Old Zhang, go and take a look quickly. The patriarch of the Lu family, Lu Shunqing, immediately dispatched a devoted retainer from the family to investigate the truth. The other 2 families also sent people out to probe, quickly bringing back one piece of confirmed news after another. A large number of demons were appearing from the north, sweeping in with an estimated number of at least 40 to 50,000. All sorts of mountain goblins and ghostly creatures were among them, clearly led by a great demon. These demons had occupied the official roads and also blocked a few other paths. It was said that on the southern trade routes, 2 escort agencies were raided and killed, and jewels hidden in grains meant for transportation were found on the road. The demons blocking the road, with the great demon pressing on, indicated a momentum to attack the city. The north? Could it be the group of demons from the Black Wind mountain range? Have these demons gone mad with such audacity to indeed attempt an invasion? Aren't they afraid that the Xia family will descend in fury and wipe them all out? Damn it, what is Yu Shuang doing? Could it be he has offended the Demon King? Has anyone seen the Xia family's people? The 3 major families were somewhat panicked. The mere concept of 40 to 50,000 demons, what did that mean? The entire defense capability of Songyu City's military only amounted to just over 20,000 soldiers. That the number of demons exceeded that of the soldiers by more than twice was secondary. These demons were planning to attack the city and naturally had the utmost confidence that they were fully prepared, and for a great demon capable of commanding such a multitude, it had to be at least of the divine travel realm, if not 15 li. At the same time, to the north, dark demonic clouds were already closing in, the mountain rain was about to arrive, and the entire city was on high alert as the purple smoke signals rose, igniting the skies. All 4 city gates were sealed. Soldiers from the city defense army, now clad in battle armor, gathered atop the city walls at this moment. Looking toward the north from the city walls, the faces of many soldiers changed. They could see the thick demonic clouds, a mix of black with a streak of red, swirling in the northern sky and approaching with alarming speed. Have these demons gone mad, daring to attack the city? Many from the city defense army could hardly believe it. This was Dayu, and even though it was a remote city, it was not the outermost city on the border. Had the attackers really dared to cross the border and provoke the wrath of the royal family, risking a military expedition against them? Throughout the decades of their service in the city defense army, aside from occasional disturbances in the outskirts, these demons were seldom seen, let alone in such massive force. The news of the demons attacking the city spread throughout. With the city gates sealed and the city defense army scurrying all over the place, the news was impossible to hide. Every household was ordered not to leave their homes, and the streets echoed only with the rapid sound of horse hooves. Many inns, taverns, Tea houses and shops had also closed their doors. Some were worried about demons breaking through the city defenses, anxious and fearful. Others complained about the damnable demons affecting their business. And some had already instructed their families to pack their valuables, sending servants to prepare carriages and horses ready to flee the city at a moment's notice. However, some wealthy households in the city sent messages through their connections to the city defense generals, inquiring if they needed help, willingly offering to donate funds and supplies to jointly resist the demonic onslaught in the face of disaster. The true nature of all beings was fully revealed at this time within the city lord's mansion. In the lofty backyard of the grand mansion, there was a gloomy underground chamber resembling a dungeon. Yu Shuhong was standing here, staring at a painting before him. He was tall and slender, dressed in a Confucian robe exuding the air of a scholar. However, half of his face was obscured in the shadow of an oil lamp, making it impossible to see clearly. The painting depicted a woman in a light green luo dress, looking alluring and graceful with exquisite craftsmanship. The figure looked lifelike. Suddenly, a wisp of black smoke appeared from the shadows behind him, slightly twisting before transforming into a burly and towering figure of an imposing man. This man had a broad face and large eyes, a thick mustache around his mouth, and his eyes emitted a faint red glow in the darkness. There you go, thinking about your little sister again. The broad-faced man barely cracked a smile, his expression ambiguous. Yu Shuhong did not turn his head. His expression seemed slightly stirred, coming out of his reverie. He sighed softly and said, "Tiger Robe, how long have we known each other?" "It has been over 20 years, the broad-faced man replied. 20 years, Yu Shuhong murmured to himself. This year I am 53 at 30. I entered the divine travel realm, full of youthful vigor, assigned here as the city's defender in the blink of an eye. It has been 20 years, once a man of 30, with a sword at his waist. He now had nothing there." The broad-faced man nodded slightly. His eyes filled with a mix of sighs, envy and jealousy. "Your human race is born intelligent, standing above all races. In just a few decades, you can cultivate to the divine travel realm, whereas we demons need hundreds of years to absorb the essence of the sun and moon to reach this stage. I truly envy you." Yu Shuhong's mouth twitched slightly as he said, "But Tiger Robe, you have seen how few in our human race live to be several hundred years old." The broad-faced man shook his head, a hint of disdain in his eyes. "Reaching the divine travel realm, one can live nearly 1,000 years, yet your human race insists on seeking death. Look at those folks from the divine general mansion clearly. They could live comfortably for a long time, yet they choose to fight to the death against our demon race on the borders. In the end, they all die young." Yu Shuhong couldn't help but laugh. "Indeed, that may be the difference between our human race and your demon race. For the billions of children of Dayu and the vast lands of the 19 provinces, every inch of soil has been a witness to the blood of those heroic souls. Because some have died, many more can live." The broad-faced man squinted slightly and asked, Surely you are not going to be as foolish as those idiots?" Yu Shuhong turned around, his previously half-gentlemanly face under the warm glow of the oil lamp now obscured in darkness. "For the last 20 years, I have provided you with human flesh, trying my best to meet your needs. Why must it come to this in the end?" His voice was very light, as if talking to himself. The broad-faced man gazed at him deeply, sighed, and said, "I am not willing to do this either, but the red-eyebrow Taoist has awakened from his seclusion, starving moreover. The purpose of this trip isn't solely to fill our stomachs. The real target for attacking Songyu City is the Xia family." "The Xia family?" "Correct. You sought help from the Xia family. But they dare not come because they are facing even more troublesome issues and can't afford to be distracted. If Songyu City falls while their back is unguarded, the entire city's obliteration will certainly impact them. If that emperor sitting on the throne in the palace becomes angered and punishes the Xia family because of it, that would be even better," the broad-faced man said softly. "So, Songyu City, you can't save it." Yu Shuhong took a deep breath, eyes closed for a moment. "So, the demons were playing this game. My visit here is to have you open the city's northern gate. The fall of Songyu City is inevitable. If you open the gate, I can say a few good words for you in front of the red-eyebrow Taoist and give you a way out," the broad-faced man said. Yu Shuhong opened his eyes, a hint of a smile on his face. "Thank you, Tiger Robe, get on with it immediately," the broad-faced man said. "I will certainly keep you safe, Yu." Shuhong nodded and turned to walk to one side. "Not toward the desk, but the weapons rack instead, you? Tiger Robe, I see. The red light in the broad-faced man's eyes intensified and his mouth slightly curled open. You truly break my heart by doing this. I am sad too. Sad for you? Yu Shuhong chuckled. Tiger robe. I will surely use your tiger head to brew the finest wine from our 20 years of friendship. Thank you. The broad-faced man's teeth began to extend, becoming sharp and pointed. I will also savor yours slowly. As their auras grew more intense, their divine souls began to emerge. Yu Shuhong's divine soul gathered above his head, while behind the broad-faced man, a fierce and gigantic tiger faintly appeared. So it's here. Suddenly a voice arose beside them, then a crack abruptly opened above the cellar and a figure floated down slowly, standing in the midst of their confrontation, clothed in dark attire. Wielding a broken black saber, it was Li Hao who had rushed back to the city. Chapter 70. Hurriedly returning to the skies above Sangyu City, Li Hao had already seen the vast expanse of demonic clouds rolling in from the north, but his first action wasn't to head north. Instead, he went to the city lord's mansion. Wanting to understand the situation, however, upon search with his divine soul, he witnessed the scene within the city lord's mansion, monster suppression department. At the same time, Yu Shuhong and the broad-faced man also noticed the dark attire on Li Hao, both taken aback. It was indeed the monster suppression department, but he was the most ordinary of monster suppressors, yet, from Li Hao's entrance, it was impossible that he was merely an ordinary monster suppressor. Yu Shuhong frowned. He did not remember such a young powerhouse among the monster suppression department within the city. Li Hao, however, paid no attention to the city's defender. Instead, turning his head to glare at the broad-faced man, "You're called Tiger Press? Is that you, the Tiger Robe Immortal?" The broad-faced man cracked a grim smile, revealing a ferocious grin. "That's right, it's me, your Tiger Lord. The lad actually knows my title. It seems I've made some name for myself outside Sangyu City." Li Hao's fingers clenched around the hilt of his blade, tightened slightly, and the hilt slowly deformed. He took a deep breath and said, "7 years ago, you ambushed a captain on the national road of Chi State. Remember that?" The broad-faced man raised an eyebrow and a chill flashed in his eyes. "You're talking about that man from the Northern Yen Army? What's your relation to the Li family?" Seeing the man admit it, the killing intent in Li Hao's eyes became uncontrollable. "My surname is Li." The Tiger Robe Immortal's pupils contracted slightly, his aura surged, and his gaze passed Li Hao, landing on Yu Shuhong ominously. It seems this kid has already overheard our conversation. What should we do now? Your collusion with our demon race is out in the open. Even if you escape me today, you'll still fall from grace. According to the laws of the Great Yu dynasty, you should know the crime for colluding with demons, right? Its eyes turned fierce. "How about this? You kill the kid, and he'll forgive you for the confusion earlier." Yu Shuhong's gaze similarly turned stern, staring at the silhouette of Li Hao, but after a moment, he shook his head slightly and sneered, "Tiger Robe. If I continue to listen to you, that really would be foolish. Today, it's either you die or I perish. When we first formed an alliance, didn't we agree to die on the same day of the same month? Pa, idiot." The Tiger Robe Immortal spat out a stinking glob of saliva, sneering, "You short-lived ghosts of the human race think you're worthy to live and die with me." In the midst of speaking, he suddenly pounced toward Li Hao. The enormous tiger demon's spirit soul roared behind him, its roar thundering like a low growl, enough to render anyone in the soul succession realm unconscious on the spot. But the fearsome roar only lightly brushed the hair on Li Hao's forehead. His eyes were dark and deep, as if void of light. It was only when the massive frame of the Tiger Robe Immortal rapidly closed in that he abruptly raised his hand. With a thud, his 5 fingers spread open, pressing on the Tiger Robe Immortal's forehead, then ruthlessly pushed down, crashing against the solid stone slabs beneath their feet, shattering them. This exchange happened in an instant like lightning, and Yu Shuhong, who hadn't even had the chance to draw his sword to help, found his foot frozen in midair. The blade of the demon-slaying knife, now reversed in Li Hao's hand, was fiercely plunged into the side of the Tiger Robe Immortal's neck. The Tiger Robe Immortal was shocked, unable to believe it as he looked up. This immense power, this kind of skill, how could it be possible? But the eyes he met were a pair of chilling coldness. "I won't let you die so easily," Li Hao spoke in a low whisper. As he spoke, he also proved his words with action. The blade edge slid across the flesh of the Tiger Robe Immortal's neck, abruptly tearing away the skin from his shoulder and ripping off the tiger skin from his back. Cooking technique, skin peeling and stewing. This was the most commonly used technique for peeling ingredients, so skilled it neared perfection. The sudden loss of skin and flesh caused the Tiger Robe Immortal to let out a ferocious and painful roar. A tiger roar came from its throat, its skin split open, and black-yellow fur grew wildly, revealing its true form. As it displayed its true form, The basement began to feel crowded. Behind it, the enormous tiger demon's spirit soul rushed towards Li Hao, but behind Li Hao, his own divine soul emerged. With a body similar to Li Hao's, he simply raised his hand and with one palm strike, he burst the tiger demon's spirit soul's head. The fierce palm wind forced the tiger demon's spirit soul to stagger backwards, and when its head condensed again, its divine soul had become much thinner. Terror and fear gleamed from the eyes of the tiger demon's spirit soul. Unmatched. How exactly did you kill Lin? Today I will make you pay back slowly, Li Hao said, word by word. The broken sword in his hand, still sharp under the coverage of the divine soul, revealed the true form of the tiger robe immortal whose head was being stepped on by Li Hao's foot on his forehead, immobilized as if nailed by a steel spike. It twisted its body, struggling furiously to escape from under Li Hao's foot. At that moment, a flash of golden light shone in Li Hao's eyes as he suddenly unleashed the power of the chess pattern embedded in the physical body path, Tiger Press. Tiger Press, physical strength slightly increased with intimidation. When embedded into swordsmanship, it would enhance the power and might of the sword moves. Under Li Hao's release at this moment, his body burst forth with the majesty of a 1,000-year-old great tiger, like the king of the mountains and forests. His eyes shooting out a cold gleam that would make all beasts submit. The tiger robe immortal, stepped on by Li Hao, felt the terrifying aura emanating from him and couldn't help but tremble all over, his eyes becoming dull. It felt as though it was being suppressed by a tiger king, unable to muster any will to resist. Its body shook like a sieve, and the intense pain no longer provoked any ferocity. Spare me, please, I was wrong, I will do anything. Even serve as your house servant, the tiger robe immortal begged tremulously. Li Hao said nothing, only quickly slicing with the sharp edge in his hand, skillfully peeling off a complete tiger skin from head to toe. The tiger robe immortal was in such pain that life seemed worse than death, but it just lay there quivering on the ground, not daring to run away. Yu Shuhong, who was watching nearby, had a stunned expression. Was this the same tiger robe immortal that had been arrogant before him for over 20 years? Flaying, deadening, cutting tendons. Blood flowed like rivers, seeping from the huge body of the tiger robe immortal, covered in blood, uttering countless pleas, but Li Hao remained unmoved. Such a bloody, brutal scene deeply shocked Yu Shuhong's mind, leaving him feeling chilled to the bone and trembling. After nearly half an hour of torment, Li Hao beheaded the tiger robe immortal, now a blur of flesh and blood with only a breath remaining. He planted his broken sword into the back and chest of the tiger robe immortal, grabbed the tiger head with eyes filled with fear and dullness, and said coldly, 7 years ago, when the tiger demon ambushed the people of the Li family, did you take part in it? A tremor went through Yu Shuhong's body. Although the youth did not turn around, he could feel the chill that enveloped his whole body. By now, he knew he could not escape death, and said with a bitter smile, I may be guilty of death, but I would never do something like framing the loyal and good. Li Hao said coldly, then conspiring with demons, secretly sending humans as food for them. Was that your doing? Yu Shuhong's cheeks twitched faintly and he nodded. Yes, that was all my doing, sacrificing humans to these demons, harming my own kind, he said self-mockingly. Initially, I only sent them some death row prisoners as disposable resources, but later, when there weren't enough prisoners, they pressed me and I had no choice but to give them bandits and even civilians. Why? Li Hao turned his head, gazing at him. Why collude with demons? Yu Shuhong gave a bitter smile, a hint of regret in his eyes. When I first took the post, I also wanted to clear the surrounding demons to purify our realm, but later learned that human power has its limits. These demons cannot be eradicated. They multiply too fast and are too numerous. The Great Yu dynasty is no longer the invincible dynasty it was hundreds of years ago. In recent years, it has gradually become decadent. I requested external assistance everywhere, requested troops, but all fell on deaf ears. Who can save Songyu City? He gave a tragic laugh and looked at Li Hao. If I didn't give them sacrifices, more would die. With my limited abilities, I can only bear the sins of the whole city to protect its people. I know that I cannot avoid death today and I don't expect anything, but I wish I can be buried in Songyu City. That would be enough for me, and I hope you would grant me that. As he spoke, he lifted his official robe and knelt down on both knees. At the same time, he took off the black hat of the city guard from his head and put it aside. His disheveled hair hung beside his cheeks, already wet with tears. Standing under the warm light of the lamp, Li Hao looked down at the middle-aged man's face that was not illuminated by the light. Seeing the hot tears streaming down the face, he was silent for a moment, then averted his gaze and said indifferently, Indeed, you deserve to die, but your crimes will be judged by the court, not by me. Now that the great demon is pressing in, since you still have strength, then follow me to slay the demon. Having said that, he placed the large tiger head on a table beside him and walked away.